Great. Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is David Roth. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer here at AvaSure. I wanted to say thank you, especially for your time during your busy days and for your attendance. This is very exciting. For me, this is my first webinar as CMO, and this is the start of a customer education series to ensure that we're continually communicating with you, our customers, getting the most value from your solution, and that you are aware of everything going on, the things that we're doing, the things that we're planning, that add value and safety as we all both together walk our journey and our mission together, which is helping people to keep people safe here at AvaSure. So the title of this webinar is calling Getting More from Your AvaSure Program, but it really is a high-level update of everything we're doing with our technology and our partnerships, the services that we offer, a new option that you have in terms of a subscription package that we're offering. And so today's panelists who have joined me will walk us through that as a high level, and we'll also be doing individual sessions with each of these panelists and other experts, customers when it makes sense to share their stories. And so here's our agenda. I'm going to walk you through the introduction of our panelists. We're going to basically hit each topic. Rich is going to talk about our future, talk a little bit about roadmap. Stacy's going to walk us through clinical success team. Again, Travis with our subscription offering. And then we'll basically wrap up with Q&A. This session will last about 30 minutes of discussion, allowing another 5 or 10 minutes for Q&A at the end. Again, we'll keep it at a high level. Based on the questions we get, we might reach out individually. If it's more fitting for the group, happy to address those live. And for these webinars today and in the future, this is our best and favorite way, other than being there live with you, to share different education, what we're seeing in the market, as a good two-way communication. So let us know how we're doing at the end with a survey. We want to know, and then if you like it, please invite more folks from your team. Tell your friends. We're going to keep this communication going, and thanks again. So next slide, please. All right, so first up will be Rich Mussman. Rich is our VP of Innovation here at AvaSure. He's our first panelist. He'll provide an update of our partnerships, our software and hardware developments, things that you all can take advantage of today, as well as understanding our plan into the future. Again, we'll cover these all in more detail in future webinars, but Rich is going to lay out a timeline of where we have grown from and where we're heading directionally. Following that is Stacy Overholt, who is MBA, BSN, RN. She's our Director of Clinical Program Success. She'll provide an overview of our clinical team, of the playbook that we engage with our customers, as well as additional services. Again, we'll get into greater length in an upcoming webinar. And then finally is Travis Budson. Travis is our inside sales renewal representative. He'll provide an update on our subscription financial model. Think of that as the difference between buying a car and leasing a car. He'll do a much better job of explaining what that all means. And the intention isn't to sign you up all today and to migrate you forward. This is not a high pressure sales kind of a webinar. It's simply to educate you, because more and more of our customers are moving to a subscription model. There's definite benefits to it, both from a financial and then a deployment maintenance mode that's really desirable there. And so we offer two different paths, and Travis will give us a high level on all of that. So without further ado, next slide, please. Like to hand it over to Rich. Take it away, Rich.
Thanks, Dave. I'm really thrilled to be with you today, and thanks for your time. The way we lay out this roadmap is we use the left half to essentially show you some of the things that are out there that hopefully you're already aware of, who have been part of our history and our background. And we're excited about those because at the end of the day, we've got more hours of watching patients than we think anyone. There's 75 million hours of patients who've been watching and keeping them safe using AvaSure systems as tracked by our Orna database. We also have just recently watched our 1 millionth patient, which we are pretty proud of, but our mission is to keep those patients safe, and there's tons of falls that have been averted and other adverse events, and so we're pretty pleased with it. Okay, let me talk about then some of our products. Starting kind of in the middle and then working right. The AvaSure Connect and two-way mobile device are current. This is the one where many people have the mobile device that doesn't have a display on it. This is the one which adds a display and allows us to open the door for some of the communications, telecommunications kinds of applications for the system. Very popular, and it's being very well received out there. Okay, our newer ones, though, that you may not have heard so much is the Guardian Access device. This is a wall-based unit that's designed to go into hospital rooms and will be an integration to the smart TV in the hospital room, because one of the things we are aware of is that hospitals have a very strong concern about footprint of all the devices that are out on the floor. Of course, dollars to buy products and systems, and so we've got one which will integrate with the TV that's already in the patient room, and that way the display functions can be handled by the TV. The camera functions and watching the patient and stat alarms would be handled by our device, and that's going to be coming out later this year. We've got samples available for people doing evaluations, but this is very, very new. As we move forward, then, okay, I want to show you that we're also focusing on integrating and allowing communications happen even with family members. There's a product we're calling Connect Z. Z is in like Zoom, specifically in that oftentimes when there's an interaction happening between a health caregiver and the patient who's in the room, there might be a need to have a family member to join that, or multiple family members for a patient who's being isolated, for instance. So some new capabilities to expand the access, if you will, of people being able to connect in to what's going on inside the patient room. As I move forward then, the next one is going to be about monitoring services. We are very cognizant that there's a staffing shortage that's affecting everybody, and sometimes it's really tough to even get the people to be doing the monitoring for our telesitter function, and so we've partnered with Equum, and they are available to help fill in the gaps so that if you need to be able to safely watch your patients and prevent those falls, there's multiple ways of trying to solve the problem. As we keep moving on then, we're also expanding a little bit and focusing a little bit more on making our systems available to some hospitals who would like to go into the more SaaS-like world. Most of our implementations are self-contained because many of our customers want the data, they want control over it, they want it on premise. But in the instance that certain systems are moving in a direction where they prefer to have those servers outsourced and present elsewhere in the cloud, we're going to make our systems compatible with this so that we can still solve your needs. As we move then forward from there, I mentioned before the TV compatibility. We are actually talking with multiple companies who make smart TVs specifically for hospitals, because we would like to integrate those systems in a way that makes the patient experience and the caregiving experience much more intuitive and connected. Just as a simple example, for instance, one of the things as a last resort to see a patient trying to get out of bed with no assistance, we enable a stat alarm. And that stat alarm is a call for anybody who hears it to come immediately to come in there. We're going to try to integrate some of that into the smart TV so it also demonstrates, you know, in the room that this is the room that's got the stat alarm going on, and people should respond to that. It might make it easier for somebody who's looking at multiple doors trying to figure out which one to go. Because at the end of the day, if somebody can respond and help solve that patient problem and prevent that adverse event, even if it's just a second or a fraction of a second faster, that's going to translate into fewer patient falls, better safety, and we want to be able to be your partner for that. Moving ahead from there, I'm really happy to be able to share some new things that are coming. Again, talking about the nursing shortage, there's a lot going on at the bedside and not enough people to handle it. And so one of the things that we're doing, since we have devices in the room, which essentially give you an extra set of eyes and ears in the room, we're aware that there's some tasks that are normally performed at the bedside that could actually be handled by other licensed nurses elsewhere who are not on premise even perhaps. And so we want to be able to open up and enable those kinds of systems to give hospitals the chance of shifting that work to where it makes most sense so that they can provide the right care environment, both at the bedside as well as with a staff that might be virtual to help along. From there on, then, the last thing I wanted to share with you is we are also looking at new versions of our hardware devices. And just to give you some secret insight into this, device 3 essentially is a code on this map for artificial intelligence. We are investing in machine learning research and doing the work on these things, but to us, it's got to be things which actually improve patient safety or the ability for nurses to do care remotely. And so we're focusing specifically on those kinds of things, and we'll bring them out when it actually adds to patient safety. We are aware that there's a lot of technology in the artificial intelligence space which actually generate more false alarms than they do than other systems, and that's a nuisance and contributes to alarm fatigue. We don't want to be part of that story. We want to bring something that actually enables better care at the bedside and for the caregivers who are taking care of them. So this has been just a brief overview of the different places that we're going to give you some insight. We are definitely committed to patient safety and helping caregivers and nurses in particular to do a really great job. And we've got a roadmap to help support that. And we will continue to be partners because many of the products that are on here actually came from suggestions from customers like you who are out there. And we're just happy to be putting more and more of those features in every year. And the product keeps getting better and better. So with that, I'll turn it back to Dave.
Thanks, Rich. Great job. And there's a lot here, everyone. So you can see why we're going to have a future webinar to talk more depth. I think the main takeaway here, Rich, I'm open to comments, but for everyone on the call is to understand that we offer now a broader array of hardware options. So we're hearing from our customers that some systems want to move towards a camera in every room. Some have different use cases. And so matching the functionality with various price points and how we come about with that mix, we've got the bases covered, and we'd love to meet with you and discuss that a little bit further. We're doing some exciting things around analytics and AI that Rich mentioned. We're doing a number of things we're not even talking about here until, they're ready for prime time, again, to Rich's earlier point, but a lot of future developments that we're working on and testing. And I think the one thing I've mentioned we're hearing related to monitoring services and our Equim relationship is we're hearing that staffing can sometimes be a challenge. So if you want to offload that and need a partner, we have a great team over at Equim that can help with capacity, with some of the dynamics and the challenges you might be hitting there. So wanted to make sure to underscore that. So Rich, I'm watching the clock here. Want to pass it to Stacy. Any other points, or we get onto the next topic?
No, I think we're good to go.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Thanks again. Stacy Overholt, over to you.
All right. Thank you so much. Rich, it was so nice to hear a summary of all the innovation that's happening. I've been at AvaSure for 9 years now, and I've had the privilege of leading teams that provide clinical support for almost 1,000 hospitals to date. And over the years, as you have seen, there's been tremendous growth in the virtual patient safety industry. And we've been at the forefront of this innovation, and we are striving to continue to be that way, as you can see from Rich's presentation. We're focused in this space, and we learn new things every day. As you're well aware, as we help you working towards high reliability, it means that you're never complacent and that you're constantly looking for ways to improve. So this really should be no different for your AvaSure program, and our clinical team is here to help you. So today I'm going to take a few minutes to share with you how you can increase the value of your telesitter program by engaging with our clinical program success team. So AvaSure's clinical team is made up of more than 20 nurses, and every clinical role at AvaSure is customer facing. And it's focused in one of 4 areas. So we have clinicians that are focused in program implementation. We have clinicians that are focused in training and education, clinicians focused in strategic planning, and also clinicians that are focused in ongoing program support. You've already met probably, if I think most of the audience here is our current partners. So you've already met some of the clinical team during your implementation and your go live phases of your program. And so I'm going to focus on the post go live team today, which some are pictured here in this picture. I wanted to give a shout out to some of the clinical team here and how you can leverage the expertise and experience of these nurse professionals to increase the value of your program. I'm proud to introduce a relatively new role that's been developed over the last year. And this role focuses entirely on clinical strategy development. So purchasing AvaSure meant that you had a problem or you have a problem that you're trying to solve within your organization. Our clinical strategy advisors have a background in hospital leadership, and they're well versed in the characteristics of high reliability organizations. So the role of the clinical strategy advisor is to engage with the hospital leadership for an in-depth understanding of the why and what outcomes are expected from the implementation of the AvaSure program. So from this information, this really important information, they're going to establish a strategic roadmap that will help drive your program operations as well as help you identify key performance indicators to measure success. Since the majority of you watching today are current partners, you've also probably met your clinical program specialist. And this team is a very talented team that is experienced in, and they spend every work hour dedicated to providing program guidance in best practices and in process improvements. And AvaSure is proud that we've not only built a solution that helps your patients and your staff, but we've also maintained a way to provide constant, never-ending clinical support to help you as you operate this program. AvaSure is a solution that's been proven to impact falls significantly with additional benefits of a wide range of other adverse event prevention. And I'm pretty sure that this is one of the major reasons you have incorporated this solution into your toolkit. And so as clinicians, it's our responsibility to ensure that you are successful in the use of this tool and that you use it under the guidance of best practices and the expertise that we have and that we've developed over the years of focus in this space. Our mission, go on to the next slide, please. It doesn't say, okay, we'll sell you hardware, we'll sell you software, and you could figure out how to use it and keep your patients safe. Good luck. It says, we help people, which is you, keep people, which are the patients, the staff, the families, and visitors safe. So our job as the AvaSure Clinical Program Success Team is to do just that. It's to help you. So the #1 way to program success is to enlist the help of our Clinical Program Success Team to guide you through 5 keys to success. The first key is standardized policy. This is really important to have a clear policy and that your policy for your telesitter solution or your AvaSure solution, whatever workflow you may be using it for, aligns with expected outcomes. These policies or processes should be standardized if multiple sites are involved, and these practices should have clear inclusion criteria, along with processes that might include a trial and a failure protocol and a gatekeeper process. That leads into the second key that's really important is gatekeeping and oversight. You must develop a role, and I can't say a person because one person can't man 24/7, as you all know, But you must develop a role that has oversight and has the authority to carry out the expectations of safety and of the operational plan. So this role, and it doesn't have to be the primary role, it can be added to somebody's role, but it should focus on preventing the use of one-to-one sitters outside of the policy. It should focus on the use or on the adherence to the policy. And it should focus on the alignment of the outcomes and what different types of patients are being added to the solution. And it should be a final decision maker for whether a patient is assigned to a sitter or not, and or appropriate for telesitting. The third key is culture change management. In order to meet goals, you'll need to orchestrate good change management, as your current practice will likely be altered. There's no bones about it. This is different. This is a different way of providing safety to your patients. There are some who will embrace this technology, and there are some who will be challenged by this technology. But trust and efficiency and a good program and coaching from our clinical team is going to help you through that. The next key to success, and I can't stress this one enough, is monitor staff competency and quality. Hiring monitor staff takes a long time sometimes. You need to decide if you're going to bring in inside employees, or if you're going to build a new team, or if you're going to use our EQUM services. But this process may take a while. But in all importance, monitor staff must have clinical experience. They must understand how bedside care works. They must know what to look for in patient behaviors. They must have experience with frontline caregiving if possible. And the next most important thing is to continuously evaluate the performance. There is nothing worse than a monitoring staff member whom the bedside staff don't trust, and that can wreak havoc on a monitoring program. And then lastly, quality performance tracking. You can't improve what you can't measure. So please participate with the AvaSure clinical program experts regularly. We'll help you measure key indicators, and we'll help you meet your targets that will ultimately impact the outcome goals that you'll set with our clinical strategy advisor. I want to talk a little bit more about, as users of the AvaSure solution, I get a little time to get on my soapbox here. We truly want you to succeed. We want the solution to be of value. We hear stories every day of adverse events avoided, staff injury avoided, nurses relieved that there's another set of eyes on their patients so they can focus on other patients. It goes on and on. None of this will happen for you if you just buy the technology and you don't take the time to engage in the clinical program support. If you remember only one thing from today, and I can't stress this enough, but use the program. If you have devices sitting in a closet, how can that be helpful? There should never be a time when the words, "there are no more patients who need monitoring," come out of anybody's mouth. I can almost guarantee that there will always be a benefit to a patient, whether it's adverse event avoidance or whether it's just simply improved safety, whether it's companionship or a patient experience. Utilization is the most important thing to consider. The more the system is used, the more it becomes a frontline intervention and the more it will help you. I'm briefly going to go over 5 steps to program success, and these are going to help you meet the keys that we just reviewed. And a lot of this is really how to participate and what kinds of things our team can offer. First of all, initiate strategic planning. It's not too late to do this. If your program is running, our clinical strategy advisors are ready to work with you. They can help you analyze some opportunities, maybe develop goals if you haven't already. They can set up metric tracking plans, align your policy to deliver outcomes. It is really important to develop a strategy for your program to be able to align your operations with. Also, work with your clinical program specialist to improve performance. Execute the strategy, learn and implement new best practices, receive ongoing education in areas of things like program leadership or day-to-day operations or oversight or ORNA or onboarding, so on and so forth. Also, work with your clinical program specialist to use ORNA program metrics and outcomes to drive data, outcomes to drive process improvements. Ask for a program analysis, and if you get a program analysis, we'll provide that for you, and we'll provide a full report in an SBAR format so you can consider additional program advancement and growth opportunities. And engage with your clinical program specialist to be connected with other like hospitals to learn from them as well. Another step to take is share your excellence. If you have a successful program that you're proud of, present at your facility's education fairs or present at state or national level conferences. Publish research. There's so much more research available now that speaks specifically to virtual patient safety monitoring, but there is way more to be done. We can help you and support you in that effort. Participate in AvaSure symposiums and webinars. If it's a goal for you in your career to present or publish or conduct a case study, we would love to provide a platform for you, and we can do that. And lastly, when it's time and based on what you set up in your strategic plan, enlist us to help you evaluate readiness for expansion or readiness to implement new use cases. You heard Rich talk earlier about all of the new innovations that are being done to provide hospitals with more and more ways to use the AvaSure technology. So take advantage of our assistance. I'll close here on the next slide and just leave you with this list of starter recommendations. Pick one, pick two, or pick them all. I just want you to know that we're here for you and we want to be involved. And my team, they're great at what they do, and they're definitely going to be able to help you with your program. So please take advantage of it. David? Thank
you, Stacy. I love it. A lot of great suggestions there, and definitely got me thinking. And on that topic, I wanted to point out, just for everyone, all attendees, we've got a questions, a Q&A section as part of this webinar. Many of you submitted some questions, and hopefully we're addressing them now, or we're going to address them in a future webinar. But if you've got specific questions on what we covered or any clarification, by all means, register your questions here. We've got some Q&A time at the end, and our panelists, we can answer whatever questions you've got, given the timing. So, Stacy, great job. And next slide, please. By the way, the next slide is coming from Laura Melendez and Holly Martin are behind the scenes as our marketing team supporting this. So my thanks to them. And so great job, Laura, getting us to our next slide. And over to you, Travis.
Thanks, David. I appreciate it. Wow, Rich, great job presenting. Looking at where AvaSure has come from to where we are now is amazing. And we've done a lot of work, and there's still a lot of work to do. But kudos to the innovation team and the engineering team for always pushing farther and farther. So we couldn't do it without you guys. We appreciate it. Stacy, great job. In your 9 years, I think you could speak to how well our AvaSure program has come, or how far it's come, and you've been a key contributor to that. So thank you. For the rest of you guys, most of you are existing customers. From the sales side of this, after we've looked at the clinical aspect of this, Stacy's team has set up the SBAR and looked at expansion opportunities. We kind of want to piggyback on that as well and do a software and hardware current state review for each site. And as we've pulled up here, as we can see, AvaSure General Hospital has done one phase. They bought 12 devices that went live 5 years ago. We're looking at their mobile devices here that are out of warranty and are near or at end of life. So we're going to review that, look at the AvaNet support agreements, where we stand with that, as well as the owner agreements, to make sure that your program is in good health and is able to continue to keep people safe. The last part of here we're looking at is the software, and this is a great program to look at how well we're doing to make sure that your site has devices and software that is not sunsetted or end of life, but is the current version and is highly functional. So let's go to the next slide here. And what we're going to look at as AvaSure General is looking at replacing these end-of-life devices. And I'll back up here. We typically say our AvaSure devices have a 5-year life cycle. So our AvaSure General is at that 5-year mark, and we want to look at moving away from the purchase, the perpetual license purchase that we offered 5 years ago, and look at more robust opportunities here. And we've moved to a subscription-based software platform, and we now offer 2 advantages or 2 ways to purchase our software. And one we're going to do is a capital purchase plus the software subscription. And you're going to be able to buy these devices much like you have in the past and maintain ownership of that. Our software, which is going to include the AvaNet, Orna, extended hardware warranties, e-learning modules, that's going to be all as a subscription based. It's going to be done as an annual payment on a per device basis. So that is our one option there, where we have a capital purchase with software subscription. We also have a full subscription model, which David alluded to earlier, that it is kind of like a lease of a vehicle. AvaSure maintains ownership of these devices. The software opportunities are the same, where we're going to offer Orna, AvaNet, warranty, all those same features with this full subscription. However, AvaSure will maintain ownership of those devices. This will allow us to, in the event that you had a device failure, it's going to allow us to troubleshoot that. And if indeed that device needs to come back to AvaSure for repair, we're going to circumvent the sending you a box, you sending us this device back, and then us repairing it and sending it back to you, which creates quite a bit of downtime. And obviously we don't want to not be able to monitor our patients. So in this full subscription model, this is going to allow us to find out, determine that device needs to be repaired. And in an advanced RMA situation, we will send you a brand new device. And once you get that device, we'll get up and running and on your network. You will send back that defective device to us. Very minimal downtime. We can get that device back up and running. So let's go to the next slide. More subscription benefits here. We're going to offer this again, both options as a per device per month cost paid on an annual basis. We have here a 36-month, which is our preferred contract term. We do offer different lengths. In fact, we can go a 5-year, which would offer even additional savings. So a couple other key points I want to touch on with our new software subscription is it's going to allow unlimited client licenses for patient viewing, which is a big change from our perpetual license in the past, where you would purchase licenses and be limited to 2 or 3 if purchased that number of licenses. On our new subscription model, you can have unlimited client licenses. So we're pretty excited about that. Also, on the old perpetual license model, we offered 12 different languages for patient redirection. With our new system, we're going to offer 30 plus at this point, and probably expanding even more as that becomes more and more available. So those are the benefits of moving to subscription. Our sales team is happy to do these site reviews for you, sit down, go over the results of this review, look at expansion opportunities. Again, we may pull in Stacy's team and look at how we can better service your needs, especially Stacy. And I'll be remiss if I didn't say this, but we have so many more use cases than what we started out with even 5 years ago. David, that's all I have. So I'm going to go back to you. And before I do, I would like to say one thing. Rich, if you could, it's so cool to see the old classic mobile device in the background, which looks a little antiquated now, but that was our workhorse for a lot of years. And then sitting on top of that is our new Guardian Access. So Rich, if I can, and it's a big ask, can you pull that Guardian Access unit forward so we can take a better look at it?
Oops. There you go.
That's cool. Just if you look at the sheer size difference, it's amazing. So again, David, back to you. Let's get into some of these questions.
So thank you, Travis, and thank you, Rich, for modeling that one of our newest devices. You can see some what we would call Ava pride. We like to showcase everything that we do because we hear from you, and these are things that are helping. So great job, everyone. Hopefully that's a nice overview for those who wanted a general update, kind of tease up the talking points that we'll take into future webinar sessions. I do want to ask about Q&A only because as the moderator, I'm not seeing any questions, and I don't know if I'm seeing all of the questions because I'm only seeing the organizers and panelists. So I'm going to ask Laura or Holly, who are behind the scenes, if you're seeing any questions, by all means, let's bring them up. And while you're reviewing the questions list to get up to our fine panelists, please keep in mind upcoming webinars and events. So the webinar series will continue. We'll have monthly webinars similar to this, but we'll focus in on particular areas. Stay tuned for our future customer symposium as well in the fall. And then there's a magnet conference where we are participating. We hope to see many of you there. That's in Philadelphia on October 13th through 15th, and we are in booth 302. So thanks for that nudge. Any questions that we should address now from our attendees? I'm not seeing anything in my chat, not seeing anything here on the list.
Hey Dave, this is Laura.
Hey Laura.
We had a question come in from, I think it's Evan. Are you working on a device users could use in their own house, not the hospital setting?
So Rich, I will turn that question over to you if you want. You can toss it back to me.
Well, the immediate question is something sold specifically for going into the home. Unfortunately, the answer is not right now, but we are trying to be able to do whatever we can to improve patient safety. And we know that in some ways that's going to mean moving out of just the acute care hospital. But at the moment, unfortunately, we don't have one today that you could take home. And as much as I'd like to, you could take one of these things and bring it home, but you'd have to have a smart TV to tie into it. I'm not sure we're quite ready to say that that's the right answer for you, but enjoy the question.
So thank you, Rich. Thanks, Evan, for the question. Laura, any other questions?
We just needed some clarification on the Guardian Access device and TV compatibility and how it would integrate with the TV.
I can tackle that one for sure. The ones we're doing right now, the good news is there are standards out there that many of the smart TV companies are working with. We are testing with multiples, but the particular ones we have back in the lab are actually LG's, and LG has many different versions as well. But the standards for how you talk to the TVs and the commands you send up and down to those kinds of things are fairly standardized. And then what we do is, depending on which hospital system, communication system you have, we would actually have engineers talk to engineers, and there's just some fields that get set to make sure that they work compatibly and tie into that kind of stuff. And so it's designed to be very easy to integrate with a variety of different systems.
Awesome. Thank you, Rich.
Great
Hey,
question.
I want to go back to Evan to say, I'm not sure, because this is a one-way dialogue from us where you submit a question, but if there's more of a use case there, we're certainly aware of transitions of care and different types of needs there. And if there's more behind that question, let's discuss that, okay? Laura, back to you.
There were some questions about integration. So will AvaSure products become more agnostic to work with other telehealth vendors?
Let me take that one too, if it's okay. We are definitely interested in supporting this thing. We have helped multiple hospitals take our system and integrate it, for instance, with like a nurse call system or a middleware communication system. We are in the verge of having our system connect directly into Epic. In fact, we have an app that's already been approved by the Epic review process. It's not quite in the App Orchard yet, and I don't know why, because I checked it this morning and it wasn't there, but it will be there in order to be able to do integration between our systems, and so you can get data straight from the EMR and populate some of the same fields within our system, so there's no transcribing and things like that. One more step to make it a little bit more integrated, and we're definitely open for entertaining more of those, because at the end of the day, if we can make nurses' lives easier, we're all about that. If we can make patient safety better, we're all about that.
Awesome. Thanks, Rich. Laura, just checking in on any questions. And while you do that, Rich, I'm just going to say, I think that the next webinar that we host around our roadmap and our hardware options and other things is going to be is going to be a very highly attended webinar. So good questions. Laura?
There was a question about telenurse. Stacy, maybe you could expand more on the use cases that people are starting to use.
Oh, absolutely. We're seeing such an uptick in the industry of discovery around how to support the nursing shortage, the staffing ratio burdens, the cost of turnover, and just providing help and hanging on to the nurses that hospitals have already at their bedsides. Virtual or telenursing, what we're calling it, is one of the things that comes to brainstorming sessions almost exclusively. And we are proud to say that today, our software in its form it is now can support numerous modes of virtual nursing care models. And we can support episodic models where there may be clinicians sitting in a remote area assisting bedside staff with documentation and tedious paperwork and form filling out and things like that during the admission and discharge process. There are also models where maybe there are more acute patients that may be spread out across the hospital or maybe located on one unit that may need some intermittent checking in or oversight. We have a hospital using the system for virtual nursing support throughout rapid responses, EICU utilizations where the technology and the audiovisual communication doesn't support their needs, but the AvaSure technology does, alongside of a virtual ICU technology. So there's a lot of different ways that people are using it. And the exciting thing that I want to make sure to touch on that Rich did earlier is the telenurse product or application is going to be ready relatively soon, where we're learning from hospitals, actively learning from hospitals, what is important to have in a solution to support a telenurse program. And it is going to be an application that is going to allow easy access to different modes of the way that you interact and connect with patients through the technology to be able to provide those virtual nursing services. We see this as a product line that is going to be just as big as Telesitter in the future. So we're really excited about it and we are ready to go.
So Stacy, I'd add that there's a lot of interest in this area. I would point anyone who wants to learn more about this to a recent webinar we hosted. Elizabeth Votruba, who's our Chief Clinical Innovation Officer, and the folks over at Memorial Hermann talked about their application. So there was a time where, given the pandemic and the stresses and this on the nursing staff and their safety, they needed to pivot and they needed help using our technology and deploying that in a way that, and I'm not familiar with all of the details, but I know, for example, the ED nurses were really stressed, but yet we needed Memorial Hermann needed their knowledge, needed their assistance, and so there was some use cases where they applied a virtual nurse type of strategy to balance out against, that very stressful situation where taking care of their patients and the level of patient care that was needed, we were able to provide a solution there in terms of their technology. So for anyone, hit up our avasure.com page and look under our webinars and you can watch the replay. There's a great story behind that. That's one example, but we're seeing a lot of interest as we expand and as we're solving more of those types of use cases and so forth. We are at time. I do want to be respectful of that. We're targeting a very TED Talk-like overview with some two-way communication from all of you. We'd love your feedback in the survey at the end of this webinar. Laura, unless I'm missing something, a question that is a follow-on or something, I'm just going to check in with you. Otherwise, we'll look to wrap it up and keep these webinars going.
We got a whole bunch of questions that came in at the last minute, but we can definitely address those individually. So we'll make sure that we get those answered by everybody that submit their questions. So if you send a question and we haven't answered it, don't worry, we will be in touch with you.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. We'll take a look at those questions. If there's a very particular need for your organization now, we might reach out directly. If it's a general question in terms of where we're going, something that's not as time sensitive, look for that kind of thing in a webinar. Thank you for the questions. In advance, thank you for the feedback. We want to keep this dialogue going. We want to bring as many experts as we can to these discussions so that you have all the answers to your questions, the help you need. We know your environment is changing every single day. We're talking to all of you one at a time, but we want to make sure to provide this information in whatever format is useful for you and your team as you move forward. So I want to thank the panelists. Once again, thanks to Holly and to Laura for organizing all of this, and we look forward to seeing you on future webinars. Thanks again for your time, everybody. We'll see you.
Thank you.